And welcome to America's Mayor Live. And we're live tonight, still not able to completely adjust to the vicious attack made on our city, our police department, and our country by a person who received pretty much close to a free legal education at the CUNY Law School. This, of course, was Fatima Musa Mohammed from Queens, New York, who, upon the graduation from the City University of New York School of Law, who should have thanked the people of New York for paying for her legal education. Of course, if she did thank them, they probably would say no thanks, because if they then listened to her speech, they would have said it didn't do much good that she went to law school. Now, let's face it, it's not much of a law school. The ranking, the last time they did a ranking, it was 154th of 196. Sounds like a law school that even Biden might be able to get through without cheating. But in any event, she delivered a absolutely vicious attack on the city that she should be indebted to and the country she should be indebted to, and a direct anti-Semitic attack, which of course would be in line with the school itself, which has supported destroying the state of Israel. Why taxpayers continue to pay for this school is only a question that Democrats in New York can answer, because New York City is a dictatorship, a Democrat one-party dictatorship, which gets a large percentage of the Jewish vote, but has a very, very strong strain of anti-Semitism running through the party and many of its members. Now, I mean, she displayed that during her speech. Let's listen to just a little bit of it. This is future lawyer Fatima Musa Mohammed, which for those of you who live in New York, you paid for her education, and this is what you got for it.
Let us remember that Gaza just this week has been bombed with the world watching. That daily brown and black men are being murdered by the state at Rikers. That there are Palestinian political prisoners like HLF in U.S. prisons. That there are refugees at the southern border still locked up. That yesterday marked 1 year since the murder of U.S. journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. And that the murder of black men like Jordan Neely by a white man on the MTA is dignified by politicians like Eric Adams and Senator Chuck Schumer.
So she basically has pronounced Mr. Penny guilty of murder. Of course, he hasn't had a trial yet. The evidence does seem to be rather compelling that Mr. Neely was there to attack the people on the train, had already thrown things at them, and has a history of 45 arrests for such things. But none of this seemed to affect this new lawyer, who didn't seem to get much out of her legal education. Let's see if we can play this a little bit louder.
Like many of you, I chose CUNY School of Law for its articulated mission to be law in the service of human needs. One of very few legal institutions created to recognize that the law is a manifestation of white supremacy that continues to oppress and suppress people in this nation and around the world.
The law is an expression of white supremacy. This is what she learned in her legal education at CUNY, whatever the hell the name of it is, law school. And of course, she couldn't get through without an anti-Semitic attack as well. Well, I'm not sure I've got that one here. But basically, she endorses the boycott to destroy the state of Israel and declares the state of Israel illegal. This is based on her fine legal education at one of the worst law schools in America. And then also goes on to attack the New York Police Department as being entirely racist. The dean of the law school was applauding her as she was giving this talk. Now, this talk took place almost 2 weeks ago. It took 2 weeks for the obviously similarly minded board and everyone else there to be shocked by this. Of course, then when it came out, they all appropriately pretended to be shocked and condemned her. Although during her speech, she seemed to have gotten universal applause. And as I said, the dean applauded her and hasn't been fired yet. She was, if the school has this thing about hate speech, hate speech would be like if I said that it was my belief that the election of 2020 was stolen. That would be hate speech, for which I would be thrown out of my job, thrown out of my profession. Who knows? Maybe even prosecuted for supposedly instilling violence.
Some sort of incitement.
But attacking the NYPD as a fascist, accusing Israel of indiscriminately killing Palestinians, asking for the destruction of an entire nation, the state of Israel, is not hate speech. She was supposed to give a 4-minute speech. It ended up being 13. She did submit her speech for approval by the higher ups, and one of the officials said she deviated from the speech. But I mean, she really didn't go too far, because the faculty council of this so-called law school just a short while ago passed a resolution supporting the Palestinian boycott, which basically means starving Israel to death, so that there'd be no Israel and the Palestinians could take over. So then they could spread their schools that teach their children to kill Jews and Americans. Well, they could have far many more of those schools all throughout the beautiful state of Israel, which, as you know, if you look at the Palestinian Authority, it wouldn't be very beautiful for very long. Remember, please get realistic and stop being silly children about the Palestinian Authority, which is what the left wing has been since Bill Clinton, was basically making love to Yasser Arafat, who double-crossed him, by the way. The Palestinian Authority has two groups. One group is completely terrorist, and the other group is completely crooked. So you either are in the hands of terrorists, or you're in the hands of people who steal the money that is given to the Palestinian Authority to help the people of the Palestinian Authority, which is why Mrs. Arafat sits in the south of France, if she's still alive, I don't even know. But for the longest time, she was one of the richest people in the south of France. That's the money that was supposed to go to the Palestinian people that Arafat stole. Today, I noticed on Facebook, somebody attacked me for throwing Arafat out of the United Nations. I was so proud of doing that. And I also have no doubt I was proven right, because that was before he had suckered Clinton into giving him everything he wanted and then told him no. Now, that for all the praise they give Clinton for whatever, I'd like to know what the hell he accomplished. he completely screwed up the Middle East. Absolutely screwed it up by all those years wasted of trying to make peace with Arafat, who never had any intention of making peace, because if he made peace, he wouldn't be able to make money. And he was much more interested in making money than he was making peace. All of this is lost on a student or whatever this is. I don't know if Fatima Musa Mohammed is a sympathizer with the Palestinian terrorists, a sympathizer with the Palestinian crooks, just a terribly misled, rather uneducated person. I don't know what she is. I just know the things that she said are horribly divisive, terribly dangerous, and kind of indicate the terrible condition that our city, our state, and our country are in right now, particularly our universities that have been captured really by the communists. CUNY being right near the top, unfortunately, and you pay for it. And here's the article about the law dean. We're going to try to find out if there's been any discipline like firing the law dean. Because it would seem to me that if you applauded for this speech, you shouldn't be dean of law anywhere, because I don't think you understand the law. So the dean of the law school is a woman named Sudha Sethi, and she has a history of advocating for social justice lawyering. I didn't know that there was such a thing as social justice lawyering, but I didn't take that course in law school. I do remember torts and criminal law and constitutional law and property, but social justice lawyering was not a course that was taken in the law school that I went to, which was not number 154 out of 180. She was behind the establishment of the anti-racism and cultural competency graduating requirement for students at the Western New England University School of Law in Massachusetts. I've actually never heard of the Western New England University School of Law. I assume they teach something roughly equivalent to American law, although it could be something else. But you do have to show proficiency in anti-racism and cultural competency. I don't know if you have to show competency in contracts, for example. Probably not. And she taught a course called Race, Racism, and the Law, and then Business Law from an anti-racist perspective. These are all very, very tough courses, I'm sure, and very, very even-handed. So let's see what happens. There really should be a defunding of CUNY Law School, and it should be let to go off on its own. If people want to teach this kind of nonsense, craziness, anti-American hatred, they should pay for it themselves. Yeah, well, we shouldn't have to pay for it. And this is, of course, while this has really been a very rough week, given the fact that it was Memorial Day. This is while the Los Angeles Dodgers held their Pride celebration and invited the Nuns of Perpetual Indulgence, who are a transgender group that mocks nuns, wears garments that show their private parts and dress up like devils in nuns' habits, and mock Jesus and the Blessed Virgin and make a mockery of the Catholic religion, which seems to be a religion that it's okay to mock. I mean, I go way back to the Brooklyn Museum when I defunded the Brooklyn Museum when they had an exhibit involving a painting of the Blessed Mother dressed up in very, very salacious outfit with, believe it or not, cow dung put on the painting. Why you'd want to put cow dung on a painting probably indicates the state of your brain. But of course, they called it art. I called it something else. It's a word that begins with S and ends with G, because it really was literally and figuratively exactly that. But of course, the New York Times and the left wing in New York accused me of being a Neanderthal and against free speech, because missing the entire point that I wasn't prohibiting them from doing this. I was just exercising my right not to give them money to do it. Now, Chicago had just done the same thing with a very, very shocking exhibit about Muhammad, where Muhammad was portrayed as murdering people, and it had to be taken down and defunded. Now, the difference between the two is that the painting of the Blessed Mother in salacious sexual clothing with cow dung on it bears no relationship to anything in history, and Muhammad did kill people. I mean, don't go start having a revolution now because you can't deal with history. But the second half of Muhammad's life, he converted by his army. It wasn't conversion by preaching; it was conversion by military attack. And he would come into a town and give the Arabs, the Christians, or the Jews a choice: you either convert or I kill you. And then when he found out he could also make money, he set up a third choice: to pay him tribute. So his desire to spread the religion was ameliorated by his desire to get money. What I just told you is in the Quran. I'm not making it up. I'm not attempting to criticize. I'm not being judgmental about it. I'm telling you the facts of the Quran. If you've ever bothered to read it, I have. Difficult book to read because it is not written in chronological order. It's almost as if the chapters have been shuffled like a deck of cards. So you start off in the middle of Muhammad's life and you go to the end, and then you go to the beginning, and then you go to the middle. And if you separated it chronologically, what you would find is there were two parts to Muhammad's life. The early part where he still thought he was going to convert everyone, and he had very, very magnanimous views about all being children of Abraham, and believed that the Christians and the Jews would all convert, and the Arabs as well. And he was a terrible failure. They didn't convert. They, in fact, threw him out of town, and actually probably part of it being the fact that they made a mistake of that day, which is he was an epileptic, and many people thought he was consumed by the devil when he would have his epileptic fits. But that led him to leave, go out into the desert, raise an army, and when he came back as a warrior. So maybe it's insensitive to do a painting of that, but it seemed to me that was a lot closer to the truth than what had been done to Jesus and Mary. But nobody cares about Jesus and Mary, and Christians are willing, much more willing, to have their religion mocked than other people, and I'm getting tired of it. I got tired of it then. Well, it looks like the House Republicans, who are all consumed with the debt right now, and everybody's going one way or another with excessive opinions about the debt. People who want McCarthy destroyed, and people who would like to give him the Congressional Medal of Honor. How about we just basically point out that he did what a politician has to do. He made a compromise. He doesn't control the other house of Congress, nor does he control the presidency. He's got 2/3 against him. he's not going to be able to get everything that he wants. Throwing the country into even the semblance of not being able to give full faith and credit to its debt is a mistake, particularly at a time in which our economy is going through Biden-inflicted difficulties. And I think maybe the conservatives who really never wanted him and are dying to see another Ryan have jumped a little too fast. I don't know that that isn't a deal that that wasn't really a necessary one, and minimize the damage that Biden would otherwise do to us. It does freeze spending at current levels. It provides for only a 1% increase next year. Does allow a 3% increase in military spending, which is a good thing. I do believe that the introduction of workfare, the reintroduction of workfare, I introduced workfare in 1994, 2 years before Clinton and Newt, and in fact helped Clinton on his program. And it was an enormous success for New York, for America. The New York numbers, which are now featured in the movie Gotham, by the way, gentleman who did Gotham was on my radio show today. He pointed out to me that we moved 600,000 people off welfare. Most important and most telling part is 500,000 with jobs, because we instituted workfare. And then I took one step beyond Clinton and Newt. I made my welfare office into an employment office. And I rewarded my welfare workers for finding jobs for people, so that we set up a profit motive, aligning what we would like, the best result we would like for the city, with the reward to people who are working for the city. But there are still people like Congressman James Comer who've got their eye on the ball. It looks like they're moving forward with holding the director of the FBI in contempt. It's about time. I mean, he's been contemptuous from the day he got into office. He has withheld enormously incriminating documents, almost like a criminal does, in covering up a crime. I mean, covering up the hard drive may be one of the biggest obstructions of justice, of an election ever in the history of America. How he can justify that, only he can explain someday to God, I think. Although he should have to try to explain it to a court. Comer claims that they have a whistleblower who has a document, a report that shows a connection between Joe Biden, the payment of money, and Biden's change of policy. Now, of course, that's a bribe. Straight out now. Now you don't use the word bribe if it's Biden, because he's been proven to take bribes about 8 or 10 times on the hard drive, and people just ignore it, like his tape when he said, if you don't fire the prosecutor, you don't get the billion. It was a straight out and out, well, either a bribe or extortion. But I mean, here, Congress wants to see the document, and Ray has said they can't see it. So you have to assume the document is enormously harmful to Biden, because these are the same people. These are the same people that withheld the hard drive. Ted, this is not on. If you look at that, it's not on.
Oh,
Which means, unfortunately, the people on Getter couldn't hear me.
I could hear. I'm listening on Getter.
Oh, I know. Well, you could now, but
It was
with that
perfect.
thing in there, how I don't understand how.
I think it just went to sleep. It's still on.
Oh, okay.
It was on. I'm listening.
Okay. Well, I'm glad the people on Getter can hear us, because they're very important. It looks like China has now said you can't rule out that the COVID started with a leak from the Wuhan lab. It's only 3 years too late from that lying inhumane, indecent government and Communist Party who were responsible for the deaths of millions of people, sent around their citizens to kill people. Of course, Joe Biden will never say that because the Chinese have him compromised too much. And it's considerably more than $31 million. That's the amount that is proven dead to rights on the hard drive. But the family got a lot more money than that, which is a real tragedy that we have a man in the White House that has been paid off by right now America's biggest adversary. I mean, can you imagine? I'd just like you to think for a moment to kind of stretch your mind a bit. What would happen if during the Cold War we found out that Eisenhower got $31 million from the Soviet Union, or John Kennedy did, or Ronald Reagan? I think despite the fact that those were three very popular presidents to very somewhat different people, I think they all would have been easily put in jail. I think there would have been a movement to execute them, actually. I mean, just a few years ago, Joe was getting money from them. And you say to me, well, we don't have any proof that Joe got money. What a big lie that is. I mean, they keep repeating it. Right in the computer is a text written by Hunter Biden, one of the co-conspirators, to his daughter, saying he gave half of the money for 30 years to his father. I don't know. You want to figure out what happened to the money? Ask Hunter. He tells you. Well, you think he's lying about that? There's no proof of that he's lying about that. Or at least it has to be investigated. It hasn't been. Which is part of the major problem that we have, even bigger than Biden, which is that we have a corrupt FBI. And that's going to have to be dealt with also. And dealt with, I don't know exactly how you rip the FBI apart. It sure has to be done at the top. I don't think it has to be done at the field level. I think the field offices of the FBI, with the possible exception of the Washington field office, well, they're not architects of the corruption. They do carry out the orders like good prison guards do. You know, they carry out the orders to in a completely unconstitutional way, raid people's houses, dress like frightening looking, I don't know, what would you call them? SS. I guess SS is a little harsh. Well, some kind of fascist police. I mean, none other than fascist police smash into people's houses who don't have guns, aren't violent, have no history of violence. Only fascist police search lawyers' offices. Particularly, they only search lawyers' offices who belong to one political party, not the other. I've never heard of law enforcement in America searching lawyers' offices. It's done now, and nobody thinks anything of it, which is how far we've gone in the direction of being a fascist country. Because we've done something that Daniel Patrick Moynihan used to call, we've defined deviancy down. Things that used to shock us, we now accept as de rigueur, that we just do it. Well, Target is now on its way to losing $10 billion, which is a good thing, since Target was selling incredibly disgusting, suggestive clothing to 2- and 3-year-olds, where they would smash in their genitals or do other damage to themselves, and making it a very large part of their inventory, and even setting it up at the entrance to their store, so it got even more attention. Looks like Kohl's is doing the same thing. for babies, for onesies, see if we can brainwash them before they even know what's going on. I mean, I did that with my son, except I brought him home in a Yankee uniform. Didn't bring him home with something that pushed in his penis so you couldn't see it. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, but they sound like disgusting perverts to me. And I am really glad that the right wing, or maybe just the good people of America, have stood up finally, and they've taken Budweiser and basically knocked their stock all the way down. And nobody wants to drink one bill of a spit that they call beer. And Target has lost 10. I think Kohl's is on its way to a loss. And then of course, we have Lululemon, who fired 2 employees who called the police. This is really extraordinary. Somebody raided their store, and the 2 employees called the police, and they've been fired for calling the police.
Love building things.
Yes. I'm not making it up.
Mayor, I couldn't believe it when you said.
I'm not making it up. They were Kohl's was selling a Pride bodysuit set designed for 3, 6, and 9-month-olds. The outfit depicts what appears to be a lesbian couple with a dog and 3 children, including a young boy in a wheelchair. One of the adults in the drawing carries a progressive pride flag. You're going to start indoctrinating him at 3 months old? Well, we give possibly they're heterosexual. There are still some left. Wonder what would happen if you made up like heterosexual outfits for 1-year-olds. Wonder what they would be. You'd probably go to jail if you did, though. Would violate some distortion of the law that our extremely distorted Attorney General would figure out. So last thought on the debt ceiling, and that is that it had to get done. It's got to get done. We're not going to be able to really straighten out the budget until we have control of the White House and both houses of Congress. Can you argue he could have done more? Of course. Could he have done more? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. Without serious damage to the economy, and then also serious damage to the chances of the Republican Party winning in 2024, which is critical to the survival of our country at this point. Because if the Democrats can lose and lose big, maybe they'll cut the head of the party off, and then all the good people in the Democrat Party can take over. And by the way, when you're doing that, change the name of the party. It has too many associations with slavery for you to continue that name if you really are honest people and not a bunch of lying hypocrites.
They want to take down all these statues, yet they won't change the name of the party they support year in and year out.
Yeah, and the party that was the biggest institutional support for slavery in the history of the United States. You want to tell the history of the United States, the slavery and the Democrat Party are tied together completely, including having fought a civil war over it. And then, of course, the Jim Crow laws were all passed by Democrat legislatures. Democrats in the South, friends of Joe Biden, voted against the Civil Rights Act.
Biden was good friends with, was it Thurman?
No, he was good friends with
West Virginia.
Harry Byrd.
Harry
Byrd from West Virginia, who was either the grand, whatever they call it, of the Ku Klux Klan, or
The
one of the
Grand
high,
Wizard. Is that real? See, I don't even know if that.
something
I
like
can't even take it serious, right?
Yeah, but Byrd had some kind of position.
Robert Byrd, Randy.
Yeah, he had some kind of position in the Ku Klux Klan, which is really very nice. And and then they get all upset about Christopher Columbus and Thomas Jefferson. And Thomas Jefferson was a long time ago, and he had a lot less to do with slavery than the Democrat Party did.
Yeah, didn't they cancel? They tried to cancel Washington. Didn't they try to cancel a statue somewhere in New York?
Well, they
Christopher
can't.
Columbus, but the
They can't
locals didn't let them. Or was that Philly? Somewhere they tried to cancel.
No, they got rid of the one in Philly, but the Italians in New York are much tougher. Italians in New York wouldn't let them take down the Columbus statue. The ones in Philly caved in. They get exhausted because they do too much fighting at football games. So then when they have to do real fighting, they're exhausted.
Well, Mayor, should we go to our commercial and then come back and take some calls?
We sure will, and pay attention because this is very important to get yourself stabilized. Faith and family, freedom and finance are 4 things that we would do anything to protect. I trust the team at Kirk Elliott, PhD, Private Advisors, with providing the advice and sound strategies to take advantage of the inflationary pressures, the high interest rates, and the international challenges we face today. The Kirk Elliott team, with over 29 years of experience, shares our values and believes in people over profit. They can help you protect your finances from the big government policies that are out of our control. So what's in our control? The decision to act or not to act is within our control. I encourage you to act. Call Kirk Elliott, PhD, Private Advisors today. Start working with a team that will help you protect your retirement assets with gold and silver while sharing your desire to protect your faith, family, and freedom. Call them today, 720-605-3900. That's 720-605-3900, and tell them Rudy sent you. Or simply fill out a request for a free consultation at kirkelliottphd.com/Rudy. And then we were down to 300 or something.
That's right.
But what happened? What number did it turn out to be actually?
10,000.
But that was Rumble, right?
Getter.
It was Getter?
Yeah.
See? So we got to get everything straightened out with Getter.
We're back on. Mayor, we're back on.
We're back. Oh, well, thank you for coming back. I hope you'll make a call to Kirk and get some advice on how to diversify, given the vagaries and what is even vagaries, given what's happening to our economy and what's going to continue to happen, at least until we have a change of administration. And remember, there'll be a lag time also because it will take a while for the administration to find the right path to straighten this out. If I think of the Reagan transition and the Trump transition and my own transition in straightening out the economy in New York, I mean, bare minimum a year, probably more like 2 years of living through the past problems till it gets straightened out. So protect yourself as best you can against inflation. It's really important. And also, let's give our friend Mike a boost. I think we should. Everybody should, in honor of Memorial Day, we should give a boost to Mr. Pillows, huh? Just call him up, mypillows.com/Rudy. Order a couple of those new 2.0 pillows or sheets and pillowcases. And as you know, what I like best are the slippers. So see if you can get the slippers and maybe a summer robe. Be good. Maybe for Father's Day. Get Pop a nice robe.
What a great Father's gift that would make, whether it's the slippers, the pillows 2.0. I know the mayor loves those pillows.
Oh yeah, because they go hot and cold.
They go hot and cold. It's new technology specific to Mike and his team. It's quite something. I don't know if I'd understand it if he tried to explain it to me.
A lot of things I don't understand when they explain it to me. A lot of things I don't understand.
Not be backing these products.
Oh, I like it a lot. I've always liked his stuff.
Well, Mayor, we have a very special call on line
For
one.
Mike and his team,
Yes.
If you could turn down, you'll know our friend here, of course, from daytime. But we have with us Joel from Israel. I don't think he's in Israel. I actually think he's stateside.
I think he's in Florida.
I am in Florida. Good.
How are you, Joel?
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Ted, and good evening to all your listeners. I'm fine. Happy birth week.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry I missed calling you on Sunday, but how are you feeling?
I feel very good. I feel very healthy and very strong.
Good. Today I was listening to the Magnificat, and I sent over something. Maybe you'll play it. So I want to wish all your Catholic listeners, in light of what's going on, this is the Feast of Mary.
Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful?
It's a very miraculous. Mr. Mayor, you've inspired us all to get a little more cultured, and I think just on all levels, all of your listeners appreciate you so much for not just the battles that you're fighting, but the education that you give us.
Well, Joel, part of the script for Marx and Engels and all of the communists is to take away our culture and to rob us of our culture, so that you don't feel an affinity to your background, whether it's European or Asian or Jewish or whatever, so that your only affinity is to communism. The Cultural Revolution was about that. I mean, people talk about the Cultural Revolution, but I'm not sure they completely understand it. It was to rip away and destroy the thousands of years of culture in China, because the Chinese Communist Party doesn't want you to be Chinese; it wants you to be communist. And look, that's happening to us in America, right? I mean, that's what Soros is all about. Soros has written about how he despises American nationalism. He wants to rip away from you the thing that makes you individually American. He wants to make you, who knows what, a citizen of the world, which is going to be ultimately a world dominated by China. So we better be ready to combat that.
And you were on this, Mr. Mayor, even 3 or 4 years ago when you started doing those early podcasts about 1984 and George Winston. What's his name? The main character.
Yeah.
And it's like they're just reading that script.
Yeah. It was like a revelation, probably a little earlier than that, because you wake up over the last, let's say 10 years, you wake up in the morning, you say, how could that happen? Like the law student giving a speech about how hateful New York is and the police, and how hateful Israel is, and we're paying for her education. You say, how does that happen? And then you get people who burn the American flag. Nothing happens to them. And someone dirties up the pride flag, and it's considered destroying property. You wonder, well, how does that happen? And then you realize, they all fit into a script, which is what is used to turn a country and turn it communistic. And if you go through the list of what they recommend as the road to communism, we're like 100% on it. And I just hope more and more people realize it. I mean, actually, even Mayor Adams, who I have a lot of disagreements with, kind of pointed this out the other day in a very surprising talk about how we have to fight off communism. So maybe people are waking up to it, Joe. We'll see. So how long are you here?
I'm actually heading back soon. I'm not going to tell everybody in the world
Good.
when, but I'll say soon.
Good. You let
the
us
FBI
know. You keep us
Yeah.
apprised. All right.
A couple comments just
Good.
in terms of what's going on. I just, on a personal basis, I want to say when I was in my 20s, I had a wonderful Catholic Gestalt therapist who talked about integration and in the, that people need to understand that this systematic projection, some of it is unintentional. People just are not at the stage yet where they've integrated their, the part of themselves that's projected. Some of it is actually encouraged. For example, the New Testament, the hypocrisy verses very much help a person to integrate the parts of themselves that they would otherwise project. Whereas, and I appreciate that, you're a scholar in all of these scriptures. The Quran, written 1300 years ago, almost seems to encourage that kind of projection. And until someone reaches an advanced stage in their knowledge of Islamic theology, they would continue to project in that way. And so unfortunately, this young woman, in her 20s, she's still in that immature time. In regard to the cover-ups with this form, this subpoena, I appreciate very much that the Oversight Committee is doing this extremely methodically and not getting ahead of themselves to lay out the evidence. And this is causing a lot of cognitive dissonance on the side of the left that believed one thing, and now they have to really integrate. They reject it outright? Do they take some time to reflect upon it and integrate the evidence that you presented so clearly over the last few years? And in terms of me personally, I'm hoping that some of the data points that I put on Hunter Biden's court docket in December of 2019, I didn't have a lot to go on back then, but I had been doing business in China, and I had visited an electric bike company over there, and I saw the same type of cover-up going on where they were not willing to show their authentic accounting. In fact, I was told, that they keep 3 books of records, one that's honest, one they tell the Chinese government, and one they tell the U.S. investors. And then when they really had to show the evidence, exactly what Director Wray said to Congressman Comer today, you can come and look at it privately. That's exactly what they said to all the investors. We have the real truth, but you have to see it privately, and then we swear you to secrecy. And that's part of the communistic strategy as well.
What good is that in a democracy? The idea is the government of the people, and people can't be informed.
Right, and especially.
Go ahead.
Especially when there's other rules. For example, when people are investing in public stocks, there's rules to follow. So this is all about undermining the rule of law. And if they want to get the money from U.S. capital markets, they should be following our rules. But apparently, they were like kids in the candy store in terms of how many, over 200 companies got deregistered. And they have, people have to, there's a system of rules. So a lot of this also we're seeing is just a rebelliousness of rules, whether it's rules of a society or rules of a democracy or rules of a religion. People just want to rebel. And thank you so much for educating us.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, Joel.
One last piece. Mr. Mayor, please have WABC. Some of your podcast earlier today was excellent, but they're missing a few of your podcasts so that people can download them over the last 2 weeks. So if they can do a little housekeeping,
all right,
there at WABC, especially today's, because it was phenomenal.
I will do so.
We'll
Thank
reach
you.
out to WBC. Thank you.
Thanks, John. You be safe, huh?
Thank you, Joel. What an
incredible guy, huh?
Always insightful. He always brings such good commentary to the show. Let's go to Joan, I believe. Joan in Chicago, Illinois. I believe you're in Rolling Meadows. Is that correct, Joan?
That's correct.
And it's JOANN, correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. Well, you're on with the mayor. Welcome.
How are you, Joan?
Good evening, Mayor. Good to speak to you again. I have a question.
Go ahead.
I am concerned about the election, and I wanted your advice and your opinion on how you think the election will turn out this 2024. For 2024, how do you think that the paper ballots can be protected, and do you think that the machines will be replaced? What are your thoughts on that? I'm real concerned I worked as an election judge. I've seen how people handle these things, and I'm real concerned about how we will be able to prevent any destroying of the ballots like what happened before.
I'm concerned also because no one's been held accountable for any of the fraud. And even before we get to the ballots, how about the cover up of the computer and the hard drive? And the people who did that are scot-free. Why wouldn't they do it again? Why wouldn't they cover up the additional evidence that's now coming out on Biden's criminality? The reality is that people reject because they've been conditioned to kind of think of anyone who talks about the election being stolen as somehow being a terrorist or a whatever, and they've kind of frightened and terrorized that consideration out of our thinking. But you don't have to go any further than the hard drive to see that they fixed the election. They took the most relevant piece of information, damaging information ever to come forward in an American presidential election. Actual direct admissions of crime by the presidential candidate and many members of his family. Admissions by him, some in writing, some in text, even tape recordings. And they covered it up. The FBI deliberately covered it up. The guy that they want to hold in contempt, Ray, shouldn't be held in contempt. He should be in jail now. Comey.
I agree.
Comey should have been put in jail. I believe if they had prosecuted Comey at the right time when he was caught lying, you would not have had the cover up because they'd have been afraid to do it. But right now, I'm as worried as you are because for all of Durham's taking forever to do what he did, he didn't recommend a single prosecution.
No, he didn't. And I'd like to see the machines removed. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but with the Dominion machine and machines that get older, that get outdated, can be easily hacked. I think that if we just went with paper ballots, we would be safer. But then again, we need more protection to protect the people that are working as election judges also, that are down in a basement counting and trashing and throwing stuff away. This concerns me that I don't want to see this happen again.
Well,
and I'm just wondering.
I think any question, it's a risk that we haven't done what we should do to deter it from being done in the future. If anything, we've condoned it. But I certainly have some very serious suggestions about what can be done to minimize this. I think there are things that can be done to minimize it. And at the right time, I'll share them with you, okay? But I first want to make sure that the candidates I'm interested in get a chance to take a look at it and see if they want to put the money into it and the time into a voter integrity effort that addresses the problems of last time. I don't know that you can do it 100%, but you certainly can do. You can deter a lot of it and stop a lot of it now that you're aware of it. So I think that's a very, very, a very legitimate concern. That is it Joan or Joanne?
Joan, can you hear us?
My name is Joanne. The
Joanne,
reason
that's
that
what I
it says-
thought. Okay, I thought when I
Yeah,
saw it.
it says Joe because I don't like to put my last name out on the internet.
Oh, that's okay. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And I'm the Telegram person.
You're a Telegram person?
We talked about, remember me? We talked about the Senate bill.
Yes.
Yeah, when Dr. Maria was on. Yeah, that's who I am.
Yeah. Okay.
Locked in. Please call again soon, and thank you for being a part of tonight's show.
Thank you very much.
The number is 646-573-5177.
And we are now going to go to Matt in Texas. Hello, Matt.
Oh, hey.
Hey, Matt.
I just wanted to call and ask your opinion on what you think. This world is in a mess, and I don't agree with the FBI, the CIA, or the IRS. I think they all need to be abolished. And on further hand, where do you think this deal with
I'm sorry. I think we lost a little of
negative or anything, but the whole world, the way, I mean, we're just shot down on everything that we come up with, but whenever they come up with it, boy, it's supposed to be a big deal. And I don't like how they did my President Trump.
Well, Matt, I think a lot of people don't like the way they did your President Trump. I absolutely agree with you. I think President Trump, whether you like him as you do and I do, or you don't, was treated very unfairly and was pursued for things that he didn't do. And that's not even debatable. I mean, the whole Russian collusion thing, which was, I mean, consumed 2 or 3 years of headlines, and turns out to be not only false but made up. It's a fiction. It's as if a book were written. Hillary paid at least $1.1 million for people to make those things up. I mean, that's a very, very serious crime.
The evidence is there, but we can't do anything about it.
Evidence is overwhelming. They don't even dispute it. They don't even dispute. They can't dispute it. I mean, the evidence is overwhelming that she paid through a law. She laundered the payment through a law firm, Perkins Coie, I think it is, to Global Strategies, and they spent time and money with Steele, who used a Russian spy or counter spy to make up these stories. And Steele hadn't been in Russia in 17 years. The guy he got the information from hadn't gone to Russia in a long time. And it had nothing to do with reality. And just a little bit of checking, and you would have been able to prove that it wasn't true. But Comey didn't even bother to do that. Instead, he lied under oath to the FISA court and got away with it completely. Completely. I mean,
how's that happen?
Because
how does that happen?
Because we have a corrupt system. We have two systems of justice, which you really can't call it two systems of justice. We have one system in which Democrats at a very high level can do whatever they want, and it's ignored and explained away. And whether it's Hillary or Biden, those are the two biggest examples. I mean, Biden has taken millions illegally. It's an insult to the intelligence of our people. He sold out our country. He's taking money from our enemies, not even from.
Hello.
He's not even taking bribes from friendly countries.
Matt, where are you calling us from? Where are you in Texas?
I'm in Paris, Texas.
And how do you?
Northeast.
I'm curious as we talk to Trump supporters. I'm curious on your thoughts on the primary. I'm curious on your thoughts on the primary, of course, with Governor DeSantis jumping in. I'm always curious to hear from Trump supporters on your thoughts on the field, whether it's Governor DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, who's making some waves, and some others.
I think Trump will bleed red in Texas.
How will DeSantis do in a place like Texas?
I think that he would probably, I think if it comes down to, I don't understand all the politics talking, the primary and all that kind of stuff. But whenever it comes down to the presidential election, if Trump didn't get it and DeSantis did get it, DeSantis would go ahead and get it in Paris, in the state of Texas.
You don't. So you're okay with DeSantis running? You're just a solid Trump guy. Do you have any problem with DeSantis running, or are you?
Man. I mean, Trump has proven to me what he did, and I'm just a poor dumb guy. Times were a lot better when he was in office.
Boy, isn't that true? I mean, that I would say that is just the most overpowering case. And I really would recommend to my good friend that he stick to that.
Yeah, I will.
No, you know what I mean? Instead of even bothering himself with these other candidates who don't really have the argument he has.
I'd never vote against Trump.
I mean, these people are promising to do what Trump has already done.
Yes.
Now, we never know, and I'm not saying anything bad about any of them, but we never know until somebody becomes the president whether they're going to be a good president or not. And that goes for they can look great as a candidate, and then they just don't have it as a president. I'm not saying
I
that.
have a very,
So we know Trump has it.
I have a very bitter feeling towards DeSantis anyway, because I feel like he betrayed Trump. DeSantis wouldn't have got to shown how good of a governor he was if it wouldn't been for Trump.
Well, I know that because I went and campaigned for DeSantis at Trump's request and even order.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
Yes,
Trump was very, very involved, first in getting him the nomination, and second, when he started to get in trouble in the election, winning the election. And I have the same feeling that you do. And it's sort of almost like a human feeling of lack of loyalty. And I don't like people that are disloyal.
No,
I worry about
I
them.
love loyal people. And that's why I'm a full Trump man.
Well, God bless you. And
God bless you, and thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. And you keep calling us from Paris, Texas.
Call again soon.
I sure will.
All right.
I sure will.
And what is Paris, Texas near?
It's probably a hour and a half from Dallas, Texas.
Okay. Just so that we get.
And it's in the northeast part of Texas.
Okay. The northeast part of that, not far from Oklahoma then.
Yeah, we're right there close to the river.
I thought so. Okay, great. Thank you. What a beautiful country. It's always nice to know what part of the country. Sometimes when I'm sitting here and people call me, whether it's here or on ABC, I have a little map here. You know, I go to the Google map and I just put it in because I like to see where they are. And I really know geography pretty well. Notice I knew it was near Oklahoma. Paris, Texas. Let's see if we get exactly where it is. Paris, Texas. Oh my! No matching places found. Oh,
you looking up Paris?
No, Google is resisting me. They're being because I'm a Republican.
Paris is outside about it looks like a couple hours northeast of Dallas. Our friend here has brought it up on the map. If you want,
he said about an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Paris, Texas.
Let me see.
Not to be confused with Paris, France.
Yeah. I thought actually it would be a little closer to Oklahoma. He said it was. I thought it would be a little closer.
Of course,
not far from Arkansas either.
We're already in soccer time, Mayor, and we have some exciting news for the next few days. We are expecting some very special guests here in New Hampshire. Don't want to make any announcements quite yet. We're in talks with a number of campaigns.
Yeah, we want to see how they're doing. This is a the first in the nation primary, which is going to exist for the Republicans, but not the Democrats. The Democrats have double-crossed New Hampshire, and I do hope the good people of New Hampshire remember that in November of 2024, that the Democrat Party has walked out on you and does not feel that you're worth being first in the nation, and does not want to keep the tradition, as they want to destroy all the traditions of America. Might as well destroy that one too. I mean,
sad.
They want to get God out of America. They want to teach people that America's a terrible place and change our history completely. They don't care if you burn our flag or kneel during the national anthem. They're more concerned with our military being woke than prepared to fight a war for us.
They hate the flag. They can't stand the flag. The American flag to them represents hate.
Too patriotic.
They
can't stand it. You know the way you get goosebumps from patriotism?
Yeah.
They get hives.
Yeah, that's true. There's something.
Have you ever seen a Democrat with hives? Oh, man.
Have you ever? When's the last time you saw a Democrat with an American flag in their front yard?
Well, I don't know. I think there must be
there's got to be some.
You think any of them?
You don't see that? I'm not kidding. As somebody who recently has done door knocking as a volunteer for candidates, it's sad to say. Most houses with a flag Republican? It's just the way it is. I'm not just saying. Our parents are Democrats, mine and yours.
Well, my parents are dead.
Yeah. Well, now they're for sure Democrat. Now they vote Democrat every 2 years.
My mother was a Republican, but she probably votes Democrat now. Yeah.
But think about that. Anyway,
but that's our fault. That's our fault. We never really learned how to really campaign at cemeteries. We've never been good at it. The Democrats have really, you have to give them credit for dominating the dead vote.
They've had that on
In
lock
ever
ever since
city,
1960.
they dominate the dead vote. I mean, Republicans die and they vote Democrat.
too much fun. But that's a good point, Mayor. You know, we see this.
The party is slavery.
That we see.
Why
this.
wouldn't they cheat? The party is slavery.
You mentioned this, I think, on the radio show. This WABC, of
What
course,
a great
the mayor's on
tradition.
every day.
What a wonderful tradition they have. They caused a civil
What a
war.
way to honor the dead.
They caused a civil war.
They'll vote for you. Don't you worry. Once you're
Yeah,
gone,
you gotta-
we'll hold on to that vote. We'll protect that vote. We'll take very good care of that vote every
Yeah.
2 years, every 4 years for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, they go back after Christopher Columbus, and nobody knows what Christopher Columbus really did or was so damn long ago. And they forget about the fact that the Democrat Party is the party of slavery, and they continue to use that name. They want to change every other name but that one.
And you
all
know
the
why?
names and all the names they want to change have less to do with slavery than the Democrat Party.
It is quite something. So comment below. Let us know some big questions tonight. Ron DeSantis, what does loyalty mean? And did he owe anything to President Trump? Do you hold that against him, the fact that he's running this time around, considering what Trump is
Yes.
facing?
The answer is yes. I do hold it against him.
Not only is he running against him, but he's attacking him. He is coming out and taking on
Well,
Trump.
we do.
head on.
In fairness, we have to say that, that President Trump wasn't exactly mild on him either.
Well, what do you mean? He created him. He made him.
Well, I mean, but you can create him, but the sanctimonious meatball, we didn't need all that.
And I get what you're saying, Mayor, but at the
Look,
same
I'm
time,
fine with it. He's
yeah.
my friend. I'm used to it. But we really didn't need that part.
Imagine if you made somebody mayor, right? And you held the key to this person winning.
Have I had people that I helped
yeah.
double cross me? Absolutely. I can think of a couple right now that double cross me.
And you've handled
Do I like them? No. Do I respect them? Absolutely not. I don't respect people who are disloyal. I think it's one of the worst things you can be, disloyal. And I think it's a very bad characteristic in a leader. I think that the last thing in the world you want from a leader is disloyalty.
And Mayor, it doesn't even feel like a fair fight. It was one thing if this was a fair fight and everyone was running on the merits. President Trump, I don't know, maybe this is unfair, but I feel like those who have stood with Trump almost owe it to him a little bit more, considering what the left and the permanent Washington political class is trying to do to him. They're literally trying to lock him up. And so, to me, it makes it worse that DeSantis and these guys.
But I
think what
you're talking about is what turned the election. Remember, if we go back 3 or 4 months, I don't remember exactly how long ago it was, but DeSantis was either ahead or he was tied, and it looked like he was going to continue to grow a lead. And then all of a sudden it reversed, and it's been all downhill for DeSantis and uphill for Trump. And I think Bragg had a lot to do with that. Not just Bragg, but the gross unfairness of what he did. It was brutal. It was so. And if you weren't pathologically anti-Trump, you had to feel something for what they were doing to him.
Absolutely. And you look at I look at like Vivek Ramaswamy, someone we've had on a few times, definitely on WABC. He's running a campaign. He's running for president. And he seems to understand where a majority of the primary electorate is by not attacking Trump. If anything, he's come out in support of Trump at times, right? When it appears that the left is attacking him with this ridiculous indictment. Vivek Ramaswamy is running against Trump, but also defending.
I will give them all advice.
Sure.
You're not going to beat Trump. The only way Trump is going to lose is if he beats himself. And you can't affect that. You can't affect whether Trump beats himself or not. Only he can affect that. And attacking Trump is completely useless. It's like banging your head up against a wall, because all that's going to happen is the Trump base is going to get more and more stubborn. The ones who are the loudest in the criticism, they're going to start hating. if they do it too much, it'll be forever. It'll be like, I always tell the story because a lot of people who are a lot younger than me and don't know this, tell the story of Nelson Rockefeller, who destroyed any chance he had of ever being president by not being loyal to Barry Goldwater. And the Republican Party went and took him down as a vice president that was selected by Ford 20 years later. They didn't forget. That's why they're elephants. Because he went too far. You know, you say, well, look, you know, Bush accused Reagan of what did he call it? Economics, voodoo economics.
Voodoo economics.
Yeah. I mean, okay, that's a criticism of your policies. But to do personal criticisms, to go after somebody and try to convict them of a crime they didn't commit, I mean, that's really unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
So when if I'm running against you, Ted, I accuse you of having a terrible economic program, I say it's a dumb, stupid economic program. That doesn't really sever a relationship for life. It's a disagreement.
Bingo.
It's a disagreement over policy, and in the context of politics, we exaggerate when we argue policy. But it's another thing. Like when I'll tell you what was really I found very upsetting. When he was first asked about the
indictment,
the verdict in the with the Stormy Daniels situation,
yeah,
he said, "Well, of course, something like," and I'm paraphrasing, and probably not exactly right, but he said something like, "Well, I wouldn't know anything about paying somebody like that.
I wouldn't know anything about paying off porn stars,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe
it was a shot. It was a shot.
He could be a saint. I don't know.
It doesn't make you a saint either. Oh, that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah, I mean, he could be. He may have actually never done anything wrong in his life. There are people like that.
But isn't the patriotic thing in that position to come to the defense of someone who's being who's being attacked from a politically charged prosecution? Isn't the patriotic and the right thing to do to say, "Hey, I want to run against this man. I want to beat him on ideas. I want to beat him in this primary." However, what they're doing is dangerous and really it's damaging to the very foundation and fabric of this country.
Well, he tried to say that, and he screwed it up with the wise ass comment. Yeah, I mean, he tried to say that,
which tells me where your head's at, right? It's one way or the other, and it's clear.
It tells you he's sneaky.
That's the right word for it. Meanwhile, you have candidates like Ramaswamy who come out. Look, we want to take on Trump in the battle of ideas. What they're doing to him is wrong. And it almost means more when an opponent comes out in support of Trump. It almost means more.
Actually, no one did. I don't recall. Scott didn't do that. Didn't do what DeSantis did.
Vivek Ramaswamy did. He's the only one that I know of.
No, they all supported him.
They supported Trump. Yeah.
Even Pence.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Pence had strong support for. I mean,
Well, it's just strong. Yeah, he did.
No,
you're right. He did.
On
you're right. I remember that. He did. And I was
for
surprised by that. I was surprised by that.
I'm not even going to tell you it's always legitimate, but it's a smart political thing to do.
Exactly.
It's not only the right thing to do, it's the smart political thing to do because you're going up against a universal sentiment, at least among Republicans.
Yeah.
Or at least enough of them so they dominate the party. I mean, at one time, Trump dominated 85% of the party. It's possible he could get that back. If they keep torturing him, he'll get it back.
And it's the right, and honestly, Mayor, even larger than that, it's the right thing to do. I look at 2016, the chant, lock her up, lock her up. I'm not, the President Trump, it wasn't his top priority to lock her up after he won, correct? Because I think he understands the dangers of doing something like that. Now, here you have the opposite, and they're literally trying to lock him up. I'm sorry, we're so hung up on this, but it seems like such a damaging thing for the country.
Well, the difference is very, very important, though. Hillary Clinton committed innumerable crimes.
Exactly.
And Trump didn't do anything wrong.
Exactly. Yet she's still walking free. And I have to believe part of that is because certain people understand the damage you can do to democracy and our system by what could even appear to be a politically motivated
I don't
prosecution.
think so. I think that the Clintons.
How did they get off?
I think the Clintons corrupted the justice system. They were the first ones to do it back in the 90s, and the Democrat Party with Obama. And I mean, it can turn out that Obama probably had the up until now, like up until Biden, had the most corrupt administration in history.
I was going to say up until Biden.
Yeah, I mean, Biden is almost impossible to match Biden. I mean, who the heck is taking all that money from?
And that's a clear case where it's not political prosecution to prosecute the Bidens. That's a clear cut and dry. Now that's not political prosecution, and that's
if you don't prosecute them, it's just going to get repeated.
Exactly.
And the failure to prosecute Comey, I think, got it repeated through the cover up of the hard drive. So
we are well into soccer time now, Mayor.
Well, let's urge everyone tomorrow. Be really nice if you went to wabcradio.com at 3:00. In fact, you might want to go a little earlier and listen to my good friend Greg Kelly, who I think, if you don't know, is very, very much, where we are. I think I can say that, and you understand what I'm saying. In fact, I would say that Greg has to be one of the strongest supporters of President Trump. Wow. I mean, yeah, he's really there 100%. And he's very interesting. And I'd tune in a little early so you can hear it, or you can listen to him on Newsmax 10 o'clock tonight. Great guy. His father was a great police commissioner too. And then you can listen to my show between 3 and 4 and try to call in. And then tomorrow night, we'll be here in New Hampshire, first in the nation primary. And hopefully we'll have some updates for you on presidential candidates and what they're doing and how they campaign in the land of live free or die. You like that, right? Live free or die. Sounds like something Churchill would say, right? In fact, I'll have Dr. Maria tomorrow night explain to you the derivation of that. It comes from a great New Hampshireite. What do you say? Is it a New Hampshireite? Is that the right way to say it? Okay. New Hampshire person.
Yes, sir.
Wait a second. Can we say person? I mean, are we allowed to say
a Granite Stater?
Are you allowed to say person now?
Person
sounds like it's pretty good.
But you have to include don't assume it's a person. Some persons may no longer identify as a person.
What happens if you still believe, in just two sexes? Do you get burned at the stake or something?
Intolerance. They have whole committees, they have whole departments now within companies that are dedicated to answering questions just like that, Mayor.
I mean, I'm just asking.
These people are paid 6 figures.
What happens to you? Are you thrown out of your job? Are you physically tortured?
You're forced. Well, just look at Anthony Bass. I believe his name is Anthony Bass, the pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays, who just had to apologize for simply sharing a video of someone else supporting the boycott of Bud Light and Target. And Anthony Bass had to get up there in front of all the reporters in Toronto and apologize for sharing that video. And he literally used the words, "I'm going to educate myself." And
poor guy.
It's hard to, but that sir is what happens.
I guess I can kind of forgive him because he's not he's an athlete, and I don't know why you cave in like that. What would they have done?
That's a good question, Mayor. Can you forgive him?
Suppose he had said no. What were they going to fire him as a pitcher?
That's a good question, but you're right. You bring up is it on him to fight this battle, or as an athlete who spent his whole life getting to the point that he's at now, which is professional baseball, and the team's telling him, "Hey, you got to do it." I'm with you now, because for a while I was thinking this guy's got no guts, right? Well, he's backing down. And then I thought about it. There's a lot of pressure, right? And he's a baseball player. He spent his whole life working hard in a very competitive environment. The one little thing, can take you off, right? And you're done. I mean, he's at the top of his game. It seems
so unfair that they're going to require him to say that.
He had to apologize. It's like a hostage video.
He's just a citizen.
We should play the video. Yeah, I wish it's like a hostage video. Maybe we'll play it tomorrow.
Yeah, it is like a hostage video.
Have you seen it?
What the hell's wrong with baseball? Look what the Dodgers did with making fun of nuns.
Are they gonna? And Clayton Kershaw, some of the big stars there are pushing back on them for that. It'll be interesting to see if they follow through. And that's where these boycotts against Bud Light and Target, they seem to be effective to a certain degree. And if there will be more of a pushback against the Dodgers for what they're doing, it's silly. It's really silly, isn't it, Mayor? This group, they're trying to say they're preaching tolerance by allowing a group that's clearly denigrating Christianity and making fun of nuns. I would
say it was absurd and silly if I didn't realize it's orchestrated, completely 100% orchestrated to change the nature of our country and to change our way of life and to make us no longer a sovereign country.
Do you think they would have been allowed to dress up as Muhammad and say, "Hey, look, I'm Muhammad"? Would that have been allowed into the? No way, right? Imagine drawing a picture of Muhammad on a sign.
Or make fun of him. Yeah.
They wouldn't allow it, right?
How about Muhammad in a transgender outfit?
But they're allowed to just completely desecrate and just rip on Christianity. And you've talked about this, Mayor. I actually do not.
I don't know why
this is
Christians,
something that would take hours to discuss.
I don't know why Christians put up with it as much as they do.
Right? And I think people are fighting back.
Maybe it's because it's always been the biggest religion and the dominant religion.
That's why, right? That's the
they
that's
feel
the
like
easy answer.
they don't have to, but actually they are now fighting the forces of evil that want to do away with God, and they got to stand up more.
And those forces are winning. Unfortunately, those are the forces that have indoctrinated the youth. You think of young people today. I bet you less than 10% have seen the. I'm sure more than 10% have seen the inside of a church, but go to church on a regular basis, probably under 5%.
Oh, well, we're going to do something about that, and you just keep tuning in. Go to rudygiulianics.com, hit subscription. You can get my podcast, and go to Twitter and hit the subscription, and you can join our special group that will be sharing behind the scenes videos and text. As soon as they're video capable, they're not video capable yet. Twitter will be there very, very shortly. So get lined up, and we'll have an ability to communicate even better and create much more coherence in how we're going to deal with 2024 than we've ever done before. We've got to make every effort this time because we can't make a mistake. So God bless you, and God bless America. Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776. One of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it.